But this week we wanted to talk about one of our relatively newer trips. Like we do like to do specific trip talks. We did Nepal a few weeks ago. We've done Morocco recently and Kili. But one of the kind of almost the newest trip, really, I'd say one of the newest, is Gran Paradiso.
Gran Paradiso.
In Italy. And we just wanted to talk a little bit about that today, even for just like 10, 15 minutes about an opportunity later this year. And also as well, just talk about the trip a little bit more.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And why we think it's awesome. It's certainly, we've had heaps of bookings and people going on there this year and into next year, which is great. But we feel like we want to give it a bit of space so we can explain, because it is one of those relatively newer ones that, it all started really, doesn't it? If we go back last year, spring, we were invited out by actually the local tourism board, wasn't it, in Gran Paradiso?
Yeah, so Gran Paradiso is, I think I'm correct in saying it's the oldest national park, founded in 1922.
Yeah.
And we were contacted by I would say the president of the national park and the local tourism board, local government, as sort of trip providers that we should go over there and sort of visit the park, because it's a little bit of a lesser known gem, I think, because
it is.
Gran Paradiso, it obviously gets its name from Mount Gran Paradiso, which is the largest mountain that sits solely within Italy.
Yeah.
Everyone's, Mont Blanc is shared.
That's true.
With the French.
That's good. I like that. Yeah.
So it's the Italians lay claim solely to Gran Paradiso.
Yeah.
And it's often seen as a warm up to Mont Blanc if you're going to do the summits.
Yeah.
But actually, if you just sort of get to the summit and turn around and look around, you'll see one of the best national parks in Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. We were blown away by it, I think, when we went there.
Well, we were there for best part of a week. Just seeing all not just the mountains, but we want to see the villages and get to know the local communities there, and why, why it's worth visiting, really. And obviously we're trackers ourselves, and we wanted to make sure that it was kind of something that we thought that ever trackers would like.
Yeah.
But we didn't realize how popular it was. I mean, it's not not as popular as say the Tour de Mont Blanc, which is a good thing, but it's certainly, if anyone's got any aspirations to kind of trek in other areas, especially something like Tour de Mont Blanc in Europe, or go into the big ones like Kilimanjaro, Everest Base Camp, K2 Base Camp, Machu Picchu, any of those, it's a great starting point from the trekking side. And then as a plus to that, if you've got any peak aspirations, the actual Gran Paradiso summit itself is a really good kind of practice for other peaks.
Yeah.
Certainly, like if you're going to go to South America, maybe go on some of the summits in Ecuador.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you go into Nepal and you're taking on Island Peak and Mera Peak, or you've got aspirations to climb something like Mont Blanc itself, it's certainly one that is in the build up to that would be right up your street.
And it's very challenging in its own right as well, I think. Yeah. Because the peak itself is is covered in snow, and there's almost two summits.
Yeah.
Well, there's only one true summit, but to get to the true summit requires a little bit of sort of scrambly, fixed ropey, rocky hands and feet sort of climbing. Nothing sort of overly technical. You don't have to be Alex Honnold to get up there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it offers quite a good challenge, I think. So when you get to the top, you sort of like get in. But I think there is just below the true summit, that's where they've put the Madonna statue.
That's right there.
Yeah. So that's generally where I would say 90% of the climbers get to.
Yeah.
Trekkers and climbers. Yeah. And then there is that extra section which you can do, if you've got the ability and the confidence to do it. But I'll be honest, we obviously didn't go to the summit when we went there. We did sort of, I'd say an express tour, but it was a hardcore express tour. We're talking 14-hour days every day for a week to kind of get the full grip of the park. And I would say, I actually think it's rather special in a couple of ways, because the Tour de Mont Blanc, although it's amazing, you go through, 3 different countries. I think what you're after is maybe something a little quieter, a little off the beaten track.
Plus more wine and cheese than you'll ever need.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I never had so much. It's all there. Certainly an absolutely gorgeous place to trek. And it's, in terms of the views as well, it's just as beautiful as anywhere you go, really.
I just want to interrupt us
I knew
briefly
you were going to say it. Go on.
because Stuart Haddon, I just want to
bring him in.
Let's bring him in. He's
Here
actually
he
out
is.
in Ecuador.
Stuart Haddon.
For the third time. He's gone out to Ecuador. He is something of an Ecuador specialist.
I was going to say, this is his third trip with us.
And he is summited Mount Chimborazo.
Finally, fantastic.
Which is seriously a big.
It's a beast.
And Stuart, so proud of you here, mate. We were all celebrating for you when we got the news.
Yeah.
You know, in a way that we haven't done since we probably got our first summit of like Island Peak or something like that. We were like, oh, get in. You know, he's done it. So
we haven't had any other Evertrekkers on top of Chimborazo. It's been a really tough peak to summit because of weather and obviously other issues. And Stuart, you'll know, you've been out there a few times now. It's obviously been a little bit of unrest out there as well over the years. Some countries.
Stuart's been through the ringer. I think he's been out there when there's been like protests and shutdowns and curfews and bad weather.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah. So done an awesome job, mate. Awesome job, Stuart. Thank you very much for
persevering. You on live. I know Stuart. It's been a while, but no, it's and the Summits of Fire is is a beast of a trip. You're looking at 3 or 4 if you get to do Chimborazo. Summits. Over, like essentially they're all Kilimanjaro heights. They're all tough. Chimborazo is higher than that, and Chimborazo is the one that's closest.
It's
to the
space. It's the furthest point, I think, from the center of the Earth. There's a lot of interesting facts about Chimborazo, because it sits on the equator. It's the furthest point from the center of the Earth. So
it's pretty cool, isn't it?
It's amazing. Yeah,
it's nowhere near Gran Paradiso, but it's
you can just about see Gran Paradiso from the summit. But congratulations, Stuart. Back to Gran Paradiso. It is amazing, and I think when we did it, so we went there every single day, get up super early, drive to a new destination, explore that destination. And then sort of go and sample a lot of the local, food, drink, wine, product, all that sort of thing. And when we came back from it, me and you were both saying this could be a really good place to go because it's kind of off the beaten path. It's got everything we like to sort of combine. So it's got a big peak, high altitude peak. You've got animal, wildlife. Yeah. You've got like amazing food, really great classic refugios.
Those refugios are great, aren't they? I know we're not just trying to sound Italian here. They actually do call them refugios, but they're refuges essentially where you can obviously stay for the night. If you've ever been in, I'd say that they're definitely nicer in terms of Nepalese tea house, but similar in terms of they've got a lot of accommodation. They've got a big kind of communal area where you have food and there might be a fire or a stove there. Yeah. So very similar to Nepal, but obviously because of where they're at. The bigger buildings and they're really nice. As you get higher, they do become more basic, like anywhere. Especially you've got the I think it's called the Emmanuel Refugio, which is the one at base camp essentially before you go for the summit. Yeah. That's where everyone starts to, before you get to kind of crampon point really, where you put on your crampons and you're on snow and ice then before you go for the summit. All going well. Yeah. But yeah, that's that kind of the refugios, the lower down, really, they're not luxury, but they're really nice. And then as you get higher, they get basic. Yeah. Ready to take on the summit. John Little signed up for Gran Paradiso, July 25. Can't wait. Awesome. Well done, John. Hopefully, that'll be here before you know it. Yeah. Flushing toilets, Jerome. Yeah, some of them have, I believe. Obviously, I've not been to the ones at the top, but the ones down the bottom definitely had flushing toilets. Flushing toilets, yeah. Which is always a bonus, right?
Also, one of the areas we went to, possibly Val Savaranche, had a natural sparkling water spring.
Oh, that was your favorite, wasn't it?
It was a great experience because as a sparkling water drinker myself, I do think I divide society into two halves: those that drink fizzy water and those that don't. I'm a fizzy one.
Yeah, you
Let
are.
me know. #fizzy, #still. But
#still.
But so we went there and they were like, "Do you want to try this natural spring water?" And it was great. Oh, by the way, it's also sparkling. Amazing. Yeah. Went down in my bottle. It tasted like blood because it's a really coppery, metally sort of taste. And apparently it's supposed to be really good for you. I don't know. I didn't drink it. But I had like 2 swigs. I was like, pour the bottle back down the spring.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is amazing. But
It's a cool spot. It's a really unique. I think, you know, you go on any of these treks, you know, you're looking forward to the trekking part, but always, I like to think, even if you go to Nepal, people then fall in love with Kathmandu, or they'll, you know, maybe it's about Lukla as well, because you're flying into the mountains. There's always something that's a little bit different than the actual trek that makes it special.
Yeah. What's different about the one that's coming up in August?
I don't know, Dave. What's different? Is it in August?
It's in August, yeah.
Is it?
It's in August. So
Okay.
there's a trip coming up in. It's on the 26th of July.
Actually, I'm gonna give you a pass because it's actually to the 1st of August.
To the 1st of August. So it does take place in August, right? There is a section.
It is.
Of it
I was thinking, Dave,
the trip home. No, you've done remarkably well there.
Yeah, great stuff,
But actually, we've got a trip on the 26th of July, where both myself and Andy are actually going out to Gran Paradiso to reach the summit.
Yeah.
So if any of you guys wanted to join us and actually trek with myself and Andy, just think of it as like a week-long Tuesday tune-in, whilst also, you know, trekking in Gran Paradiso National Park in Italy.
Yeah.
Getting a 4,000 plus meter summit in. Plenty of good times, laughter had by all. But yeah, every so often, sort of once a year, we like to do a trip. We call them dandy trips in the office.
I'll go with it. I'll go with it.
And but last year, October was Mount Toubkal.
Yeah, and it was a fantastic time. We had a nice group over there in Morocco, taking on Mount Toubkal for the weekend. It's a little bit longer, you know, a few days longer, but it's a fantastic trip.
Yeah.
You know, in Europe. So it's not far to travel. Italy, really, really cool place. You know, you fly into Milan Malpensa Airport. So obviously, all the group will meet there, and we'll take the kind of, it's a couple of hours transfer really up towards Gran Paradiso, and we'll be trekking for a few days. So I think it's 4 days before we actually get to the base of the mountain, and yeah, then we'll be taking on the summit. And there's a couple of days either side, as well. So yeah, it's a really, really good, you know, kind of unique itinerary really that we put together. And you know, if you do fancy joining us, would be awesome. Obviously, myself and Dave going to be you know, taking on the peak as well. You know, we've got a few other trekkers booked in, so there are some spaces. And if you're keen to do that, I think I think Jodie has put the link in there. Jodie is on the Running Yeti. She's on the comments today. So I'll put the link in here. There we go. I'll bring it up. So yeah, holidays at Gran Paradiso, Peaks Passes Paradiso. Have a little look on there. And also as well, there's a code, Dave, right?
Yeah, there is a special code, and
I'm going to remember what it's called because it's GPS 200. So if you, great, Gary's come with us. Awesome. Hey, Gary, looking forward to trekking with you, mate. Anyone else that fancies, if you do a GPS 200, there's £200 off that actual trip.
Yeah.
If you're looking to come in July, August this year. Obviously, we know it's not a million miles away, but it'd be great if anyone fancies coming along with us. There's an opportunity. So we thought we'd drop that in today for you.
Yeah, I think we can't talk about Gran Paradiso in such detail.
Yeah.
And, you know, get them so excited to trek with Dave and Andy, and then not throw them a little cheeky bonus, you know, to get in. But it would be amazing if you guys would come with us because, we love those sort of trips. And it's very rare even that me and Andy get to sort of do a trip together these days. So we decided, well, if we're going to do a trip together,
let's open it up. Why not?
Let's open it up and get some customers with us because it's a great experience and never feels like work.
Exactly.
Always fun.
Always fun.
What would you say if I asked you what was your favorite memory of the Gran Paradiso? Obviously, we didn't do the summit and we didn't really do a lot of trekking, but we did see a lot and experience a lot. What would you say is one of the highlights for you of Paradiso National Park?
I definitely enjoyed the food. I can't get around that. But no, the trekking side, I think we went. This part of it is like basically it's the old area where basically it was they had royalty back in the day, and all the land there that basically you're hiking through, and they got some of the old buildings from some of the old. I think it was called, Margarita. I think the Margarita region. But they were the royals of that region. Yeah,
so it was the king. Gran Paradiso was the king's private hunting reserve.
Exactly. It was his reserve, and that's why it was preserved.
Yeah.
And then obviously it's opened up over the years, and I think I quite enjoy the history side of it. So that was quite cool. But just trekking through, like we were trekking through some of the forests, and then you're kind of looking up, and you've got the ice and the snow and the ruggedness of the mountains there. I think I absolutely, yeah, that's got to be it. I think the visuals.
The visuals, yeah. I think
Visuals.
for me, what I really, me and animals.
You like, yeah, okay.
Like-
You got a thing for animals, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but when you go to a place in the world that you've never been to before and you're taking on a challenge and things like that,
Yeah.
it enriches it for me. If there's like some
Yeah.
wildlife that I can look at and take some photographs of. I mean, you know me, I'm not a great picture taker, but if I see an animal,
Don't take any.
never take. Yeah. Well, the
It's
thing is,
okay because I take enough for everyone.
9 times out of 10, if I'm traveling with you, I'm
Yeah.
looking at the same thing you're looking at, and
It's
you're
true.
taking a better picture than me. So why would I bother taking one? But anyway, I will take a picture of animals. And one of the things they're very proud of over there, it's the symbol of the national park, is the ibex.
Yeah.
They're
Massive.
huge thing
Massive.
with like the massive horns and stuff
It's
like
mad
that.
though, because they're giant goats essentially, right?
Essentially, yeah.
But they're nothing like goats, really.
I mean, not
I
like
suppose they have horns, but they're
Yeah, but they're sort of like what I would like.
Hey Jim,
it's
how you
like,
doing?
It's like a prehistoric goat.
yeah.
If you ask me, it's
They
got
are
these
massive.
huge big horns, and they move in vast herds, and
Yeah.
they're so sort of desensitized to humans being around that they'll walk right past you.
Yeah.
And I remember one highlight for me was when, and it was quite early on day 2 or 3, when we were all just kind of chilling and we had some free time, and I went and just sat on the grass in the sun and kind of like closed my eyes for a little bit. And when I woke up, I was like surrounded by ibex. And I was like, oh
That's
God.
right. I remember that. I was
Yeah,
like, whoa, that's a bit-
surrounded by ibex. I was like, oh my God. How do I
Slightly
get out
scary.
here?
Slightly
And
scary.
yeah, no, I love that. And also there's loads of other things like marmots. They're quite funny to look at, quite cute.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, what do you call a marmot? It's like a kind of ground.
Almost,
Beaver.
yeah, like groundhogs, but they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, anyone that's seen Groundhog Day, maybe historically, groundhogs about this big, and yeah, they're actually quite interesting creatures.
The marmotte.
The marmot, yeah,
And then you've got the chamois,
the chamois, yeah,
little deers,
beautiful,
tiny deers, smaller than the ibex.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It's a great little place, and
Yeah.
just a reminder as well, because I'd hate to not talk about this, but obviously if you've been part of our competition the last couple of weeks, today is actually the last day for all bookings. If you wanted to book in for £1, so if you are jumping on like monthly payment with us, you can book in for £1 right now on any future trip. That goes for Gran Paradiso as well, so you can do that for any future trip. But obviously, if you want to jump on a payment plan, and obviously if you've joined the competition, there are runner-up prizes. We've had a lot of people who saying they to pass them on and to offer them out, and it's obviously a little bit of a thank you for joining us in that competition. So do let us know if you're interested. You can get £200 off your trips at the moment, and that's all of our trips over £1,600.
Yeah.
So if you go into Gran Paradiso, or you go in somewhere like Everest Base Camp or Machu Picchu or Kili or K2 Base Camp, whatever you're going, if you do that today, it is the last day. We have given it's up till midnight, so it's a couple of hours longer than what Cinderella got at 10 p.m. So you have got a little bit more time, but yeah, definitely get on it and get booking if you're looking to join us on a trip, because
Cinderella was 10 p.m. was it?
I think it was, yeah. Unless I'm
I
completely
thought,
wrong.
I thought it was midnight.
Maybe I'm wrong. You have to Google it. Maybe it's the way around. Who knows? Well, maybe you got the same as Cinderella then.
Yeah.
Just don't leave your.
Either way, it's gonna
upstairs.
be a magical experience. Julie
Brilliant.
Snowden, she's booked for Annapurna Base Camp.
Hey Julie, how you
Awesome.
doing? Hope all is well.
Awesome.
Annapurna Base Camp.
Love it.
How are you feeling about that? Best £1 I've ever spent.
Yeah.
I bet. See, Andrew knows. Like
He's saying midnight. Yeah.
he knows Cinderella well. So yeah, he's.
I just thought 10 p.m.'s an obscure time
I
for
don't know
like
where I got
for a
that.
magical spell.
Why did I say 10 p.m?
I don't know.
Who knows?
You've got 10 p.m. on the brain, but I mean, it is like
all the same as Cinderella. Midnight, fine. You can all be Cinderellas. There we go.
yeah.
I had to try and bring a bit of a reference.
Who's
there.
that on? Is that Jodes? Is that Jodie on the comments?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she knows.
Jodie
She
knows.
knows a lot about Disney and that kind of stuff. And Cinderella was also running. That's why she left her slipper around. She dropped her glass slipper. So
Yeah. Always in a rush.
bang. Or was it a rush?
Yeah.
Slow down.
But it worked out in the end, because was it Prince Charming? Was he the one?
I think it's a
He
happy ending.
went looking for the foot, didn't he, that fit the slipper?
That's it.
I mean, not to dismiss the plot of Disney, but there's probably a lot of girls out there with the same foot size. But maybe it was like it was like custom molded, like a ski boot. Hole? Yeah, it's a plot hole. Anyway, listen, Fabio, I've never seen Cinderella, so I just know the story.
Maybe it was the royalty of the people who existed in Gran Paradiso. Maybe that's what it was based on. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
You never know.
Anyway, join us next week for our deep dive into Cinderella.
Into Disney. I know, exactly. But no, Julie.
What's your favorite Disney movie?
Good one. I quite like Lion King.
Never seen it.
God,
I would say Sword in the Stone.
That's good.
I like Sword in the Stone.
That's good. Yeah, I like that. That's strong.
I do quite like Alice in Wonderland as well. It's really weird.
Well, because of how crazy it is.
Yeah, it's just mental.
Yeah, it is good. It is good. And this is Jodie's with me on Lion King.
Jodie's with.
See what you're missing out.
It's so predictable, though.
Yeah, but
no, it is. Honestly, I haven't seen it, and I'm not going to watch it in case it replaces my favorite, which is
Moana.
I do quite like.
Nice, Laura. I do love Moana.
What's the llama one?
The llama
Emperor's New Groove. I do like the Emperor's New Groove.
You know what? I've never seen that one.
Oh, that's really
Believe it or not, never
Emperor's
seen
New
it.
Groove is top level.
No, I've never seen that one. Lion King, Aladdin. I actually quite like Beauty and the Beast. Thought that was a good story.
Yeah. Aristocats.
Yeah, it's good.
Aristocats.
This is what the live's about today.
Yeah,
all about Disney.
Yeah.
There we go. What's Jodie said? Make sure to check out the discounts your members area. Yes, exactly.
Do we discounts on Disney?
not discounts for Disney. Let's get away from it. Disney.
No, but that is right. Yeah, if you want to buy a new shoe because you've left one running for the carriage.
Well, as Jerome said there, did she leave a glass trekking boot as she ran away? Well, maybe that's like the current version, right? If she's on is that an Evertrek version of a Disney Cinderella movie?
I'll be honest.
That would be fun.
I've had some trekking boots that are probably as comfortable as felt like they were made of glass.
Brilliant.
Yeah, amazing.
Just swiftly moving on from Disney, then we'll get back to the trips. Now, I feel like we've given Gran Paradiso a lot. Any questions around Gran Paradiso? Do let us know, because it is like a new trip. We understand that, especially with new trips, there might be. How long is the trekking? What are the kind of day-to-day look like? How hard is the peak? How technical is it?
Mm-hmm.
Best time to go, that kind of stuff. Definitely. Lots of this is on the trip page, but if anyone has any questions around that, especially, around any other trip as well. So if there's any other trips and anything that's on your mind, with regards to thinking about, like, okay, I've got some questions about that particular trip. Could be Everest Base Camp, of course.
Yeah.
It could be Kilimanjaro, Machu Picchu. Any questions, drop them in. I know we've had a few anyway, but just so we can bring that up.
Laura Twist has asked, is it self-supported?
Good question.
No, guided. So there'll be a guide that'll take you around the trekking area and up to the summit of Gran Paradiso.
Yeah.
So we use local Italian guides that have a lot of experience in the area. And then, the Refugios, all Italian run. So same process that we use in pretty much all of our trips. The only thing you've got to carry really is sort of the day pack. What's great about Gran Paradiso is that although it's like a great wilderness, it's actually also very well connected.
Yeah.
Like a lot of
good trails and roads there.
Yeah, like a lot of sort of alpine mountain ranges and things like that. Yeah. There are roads that sort of connect the main villages, so we'll go there via the wilderness route, but we'll send a vehicle with the bags and everything to the on the tarmac route. Yeah,
nice. Yeah, exactly. It's a good question, though, Laura. Because we know there's a lot of self-guided trips in Europe. Because it's well marked. I'd say Gran Paradiso a little bit different. There are some self-guided things. We don't necessarily do that. All of our trips are guided right now. But in terms of the baggage and stuff, it does get kind of moved around for you, so you can just move with your backpack. And again, on summit night, you can leave your stuff down in the Refugio before you tackle the summit, and obviously come back down. So similar to, say, if you're climbing Kili or Mera Peak, it stays at the kind of highest camp you're at. You go and get the summit, get back down, and then your gear is still there. Yeah, same sort of process when you're on the summit there.
Gaza has asked, are we in need of carry cash food and stuff?
Yeah.
So not for food on Gran Paradiso, because we've got there's far fewer lodges and things like that than there is on the Tour de Mont Blanc. So we're able to sort of get relationships and arrange the meals and stuff like that. It's only on Tour de Mont Blanc where you need to carry cash for lunches. But Gran Paradiso, no, you're all covered by us. The only thing you need cash for, obviously, is tips at the end. And we normally recommend about 10% of the trip cost from each trekker to go towards tips. Yeah,
exactly. For your guides and anyone that's assisting you on the way. I know it's a little bit different in Europe, isn't it, with tips? I know there's other countries where tips are, almost, culturally expected. But we still recommend giving tips on the Tour de Mont Blanc. Tour de Mont Blanc. It's because there was a question about Tour de Mont Blanc there from Jerome in Italy as well. Yeah, definitely. Same in if you're on the Tour de Mont Blanc, similar with the guides. But I think anytime you're carrying cash or card, if you do want to get any a beer somewhere, or if you want to get some souvenirs, I don't know if it's worth carrying your card or a bit of cash on you, depending on how you usually operate around Europe. But most of them take card as well.
Yeah.
The refugios that generally they have kind of connection up there. So it's again, I know it's remote because it's in the mountains, but because of the geography, it's not a million miles away from civilization. So it does have some of the usual things, that the amenities and connection that you wouldn't get on some of our more remote trips.
Yeah.
Like Everest Base Camp, for instance, or Annapurna Base Camp, or K2 is probably the extreme of that. There's not much up there at all.
Yeah.
It's more wilderness essentially. But yeah, good questions though. Jerome's asked a good one.
Yep.
Just around Tour de Mont Blanc, will he need helicopter evacuation insurance? I know he'll still
need the insurance.
Still need the insurance.
So the reason why I get people like Jerome often ask us, not like Jerome, but customers along with Jerome will ask us questions like, will I need helicopter evacuation insurance for this trip and that trip? I think that stems from the Everest Base Camp mindset, which is that you need to have it specified in your cover in order for it to be valid in Nepal.
Yeah.
Where a lot of other travel insurance trips that cover you for trekking in the Alps and things like that, they do it's sort of rolled into the policy anyway.
Yeah.
And that's because in Europe, obviously, there's proper mountain rescue and things like that operate slightly differently. So what I would suggest is that, go to the usual suppliers, True Traveller, Big Cat, Campbell Irvine, those guys, and just get a policy that covers you for trekking in Europe up to the correct altitude, and it might even specify in the Alps and things like that. But my understanding is that you don't necessarily have to specify that you want helicopter insurance, because there are mountain rescue teams and things like that. So.
Yeah, and it's definitely, because it is a lower altitude, there are lots of insurances do cover up to a certain altitude. So definitely have a check. There we go. I know there's this one there for what insurance do you need for Everest Base Camp, but if you go on there, we'll give you the links to insurance companies that also do the Tour de Mont Blanc stuff as well. Obviously we haven't got one specifically for that, but not even if you go to like True Traveller, that again is in that article that Jodie's put in. It will have specific insurances for specific places or heights, so have a little look. And I know with regards to certain, it depends on the age. Obviously your age, there's certain companies that are better, like Campbell Irvine, for example, that it's easier and cheaper to get insured. Some companies don't insure after a certain age, which is a bit nuts, but that's their decision. But there are other companies out there that you can get some insurance for you. Exactly.
I've got a couple of questions come in. So Nigel Hawkes has asked, is the 15k limit on the EBC plane to Lukla both the rucksack and bag?
Yeah,
it is. They weigh your both your bags, but they don't weigh you. So we be clever about it. Keep your heavy camera equipment, battery packs on you, empty your water out, wear your boots, that type of thing. Exactly. And then put the two bags together, and they do get weighed. So that's that one.
We're just off the back of that as well. I know, because obviously that question is brought up a lot, and it's definitely, it can be challenging. A lot of people do have some challenges to get it under 15 kgs, and it's brought on really by the Nepalese Aviation Authority.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard. We've been there ourselves. Between us, we've trekked to Everest Base Camp almost 10 times, and it has been a challenge. Sometimes my bag is definitely heavier because I've got all my camera gear and laptops and stuff like that. Work travels. So there are certain things you've got to take into account. But yeah, definitely, if it is possible. A lot of Evertrekkers, we have similar challenges, and you're trying to be ruthless with what you're actually taking. But as Dave said, if you can squeeze it in your pockets and things, they don't weigh you. As long as it's not massively too heavy, it won't affect anything. Because you look at the variables in terms of people size, because they don't weigh you. So clearly there's some extra kgs to play with there. But yeah, it's just part of their process. And what we don't want is your bag to get taken off and not to follow you, because it causes issues then, especially if there's weather delays and things like that. So yeah, aim for 15 kgs and you'll be just fine.
Yep. Awesome. Let's have a look. Laura Twiss.
Hey Laura.
What height is Gran Paradiso?
Oh, here we go. We got it.
Do you know it?
Yeah, it's just over 4,000. I think it's 4061. Is it 40?
It
yeah,
is.
it is. Yes, got it.
Yeah, 4061. Yeah,
nice. It's so just over 4,000 meters. As Dave said, the highest peak solely in Italy. And it's quite a rugged summit as well. It's I suppose while we're talking about the summit itself. And just to give that a bit of airtime, it's not technical, but there's a bit of exposure. So, as in, there are some, pretty big drops as you're on the summit. Now, once you get to the Madonna, there's an option there. I'd say the Madonna, there's no music going on here. There's just like
a statue of the Madonna. Yeah.
We're in Italy, and essentially most people stop there, and you're on the summit ridge. It's classed as the 4 summit is classed as a summit.
That counts as reaching the summit. Yeah.
Exactly. But if you want to, and whoever's technically comfortable, you can do some fixed ropes. Essentially, you're up then. It's like a bit of a scramble. Mm-hmm. It's not actually climbing, but it is a scramble to get to the actual summit. It's a little bit higher.
Yeah.
We will do it if we can, but not everyone has to.
Yeah, because I think you've got to go up, get to the summit, but then you down climb, down and around.
Yeah.
So there aren't people going up and down the same tiny ridge, because otherwise then you risk injury. Exactly. So I think actually for me, it's not getting up that would be the scary bit. It would be the down climb.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because down, like climbing down is always harder than climbing up. For visibility's sake and stuff like. It's not like mega technical, but it probably would push the boundaries of someone that hasn't done any climbing at altitude and perhaps isn't used to the exposure. But again, we play it by ear. It is possible to do, but it's not necessary to reach the summit and to count the summit.
Exactly, and most of the time there's snow on it as well. Now I know we're going in the kind of summer months. Obviously we're going in July. Is one in August as well. Obviously, if you're going next year, so there's summer months, but there's still snow on it, and quite considerable snow because of you are so high and there's like a massive glacier on there. So it's pretty rugged, but the actual route itself is non-technical to get to the Madonna.
Yeah.
Any experience that anyone's got, on crampons or ice axe. Stuart, no problem about the lateness. No, I hope all is well, Stuart. I'm just talking a little bit about Gran Paradiso. Yeah, with the if you do have an opportunity to jump onto a winter skills, I know we've actually got one this weekend, which is fully booked, unfortunately, but we do have one at the end of the year in December, which is the first one of kind of next winter, which is really valuable. I know, obviously, for anyone going to Gran Paradiso, not so much this year, but for anyone thinking about it, the winter skills is a fantastic weekend. I say we look on second one of the year this weekend.
I can't probably recommend that enough, really, in terms of if you are planning on doing anything that requires like crampons and an ice axe and a helmet, harness, that sort of thing. Even on our normal training weekends, the guys show you that level of equipment.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of crampons and ice axe use, really you can't. Our guys are so good at that. And I just think it just gives you a level of peace of mind, that one of the things that I'm always nervy about is if I'm going to do something properly for the first time with no practice. You always get a bit nervous, like, I try not to be able to do it. Like, am I going to be okay? I had the first feeling when I went on my first ski holiday.
Okay, so you had those concerns. You're thinking, I fall over, slip. How do I do it?
Exactly, and am I practiced enough? Am I going to get myself into trouble? Then I did my lessons. And now I love it and I don't worry about it at all. So it's the same, you treat it like anything else. The more time you put into gaining the skill and knowledge, the better you are on the mountain.
Exactly. Well, it's like anything. I think you're expanding your comfort zone. Like clearly, your comfort zone around that particular skill was very narrow, and everything out of it was like, oh my god, I'm gonna fall, I'm gonna slip, I'm gonna die. Whereas, excuse me, whereas as that's got, as that's expanded now, your area of comfort, which is where you want to operate in that, it means it is less risk.
Yeah.
Is bigger, and you enjoy it more. And I suppose that goes for anything really. Laura asked another question there, is if there's snow during the summer, is there any avalanche risk around there? It's a good point. I suppose any mountain that you have snow on, there's always a risk of anything.
Yeah, not on the route though, I don't think. Because,
not on the actual route itself.
Yeah, I mean, there's you hear a lot of stuff about, there's a recent avalanche, I think in France, wasn't there, where sadly some skiers...
Yeah, there were some fatalities there, yeah.
But when you go on the winter skills weekend, one of the skills that they'll teach you is about sort of spotting avalanche risk. And it's to do with the gradient of the snow and things like that, the history of avalanche in the area. Where we go, it's on Gran Paradiso, there's no risk of it.
No.
Obviously, you're in the Alps, so there's snow-capped peaks pretty much all year round, right? I mean...
Yeah, because you've got basically, it's like almost like permafrost because it's so high. The temperatures are always pretty low up there. And I think, because in terms of avalanche risk, because you're on the ridge, and that is essentially, the snow is on top of rock and ice, essentially. It's pretty stable. But your guides, that's why we got guides, in terms of taking you on the safest route. Anytime is in the mountains, they are mountains, and is an element of danger anytime you're in any mountains, even, we're on Pen y Fan, as we said earlier, but so you've got to be cautious with that. But that's why we, on lots of these big trips, we do guide them, because it minimizes the risk. It manages the danger as much as we can anyway. And that is also looking at route. As Dave said, a month or so ago when we talked about rep, and part of that is route, talking about the mountains, so the R in WREP is about route. And we look at that in terms of, okay, what's our route in terms of taking to the summit? And what's the danger level on that route, and is it manageable? And it's pretty popular on that one. So sorry Laura, I know that was a big answer there, but I hope that hopefully gives you an idea of what it's like. And just a little Google, really. If you Google Gran Paradiso, I know we've got lots of pictures and things on the website. It should have you can picture then what it's going to be. So hopefully that hopefully that answers your question.
Awesome. And just to confirm, there are 2 spaces left on the March Winter Skills date.
Really?
Yeah,
nice. Okay.
just been nudged in the side to let them know.
Great. Yeah.
Andy said, "Hi guys, I can't get to the Winter Skills. How much is covered in the Snowdonia weekend, or should I get extra training too?" Thanks.
Good question.
I think in terms of the sort of peaks that we do, what's covered in our weekends is more than enough to kind of get you there, because a lot of the treks that we do are non-technical. So you're not going to learn how to require to sort of ice climb, a frozen waterfall, or but the most thing we'll do is teach you sort of from the basics, how to put crampons how to put crampons on, how to walk in them, how to use them correctly. And you'll be walking on some mixed terrain and things like that. There's some snow, rock, ice, that type of thing. How to self-arrest with an ice axe, how to use the ice axe for stability, how to cut steps in the snow. If you are in a position where the gradient's too steep to walk up, you can use it. And honestly, most of the skill that you need in order to summit up something like Gran Paradiso, Island Peak Mera, is just walking in them, to be honest with you. That's what you need to learn how to do. It's good to sort of do the Snowdonia weekend, and then, or like some training like that. And then from there on, you'll be able to judge. And most people who do go on to learn more stuff is because they love it and it's fun and they want to learn more.
Exactly.
But I mean, the only thing I'd recommend as a little extra is if you were doing something like Island Peak. There's some ladders and things like that you need to cross, aluminium ladders. So it might be worth buying an aluminium ladder, putting it against the wall, practicing climbing it using the rungs of your crampons.
That's good practice.
And then another thing is put it between 2 milk floats, milk crates, and then just get someone to hold your hand as you like walk across it, so you can get used to foot placement and stuff.
Milk floats would be interesting.
Milk floats,
as they're moving.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, you could deliver milk as
like
you're doing
a
it.
Glacier, right?
Yeah.
No, it's and as Dave said there, any winter skills. Hopefully sorry, Andy, I just reread your question. I take it then, are you on the Snowdonia weekend with us, which is a training weekend, or I take it you're not going to go on the winter skills. So yeah, just clarify, with the Snowdonia weekend, it is one of our training weekends that we do. So we don't really do any of the technical stuff on there. That's just trekking essentially. So all the trekking side of it, the winter skills stuff is separate to that.
Yeah.
So we don't really focus on the winter skills on that weekend. That's done on a separate one. So yeah, mate, if you are keen on that, I said there are 2 spaces in March. There is one at the end of the year as well. And then Mera in October. So yeah, if you can get out and get some time, we can chat through with you as much as we can. But specific training, I'd say if you can get out with some crampons and ice axe on the mountains before you go, it'll help you. Some people who turn up to Mera Peak, they haven't done that before, just to be completely transparent, and some people have, and it's just one less thing that you need to think about when you turn up. You can learn how to do it. It's like learning on the job, really. The guys will show you, but just if you can, it'll help when you're on Mera, definitely. Certainly, from all the kind of some of the comments and feedback we have of people who've done Mera, because we had quite a lot of successful Mera summits last season in the autumn. Was that Mera really it's not that technical. There is some fixed rope area there, but it's more about the fitness on Mera Peak.
Yeah.
So if you can focus on your fitness side of it, and I know you're into your training, just because summit day is a toughie, and obviously you're almost at 6,500 meters. So the fitter you are, you'll have a better chance of summiting. Whereas the technical aspect of it doesn't come into as much as it does maybe on Island Peak.
Yeah.
Just to kind of throw into the mix there, mate. So I know you can do this anyway. You can smash it. So hopefully, obviously, if you're on the Snowdonia weekend, we'll catch up anyway.
Yeah, it's a very good point, actually. A lot of the feedback we get from Mera is that technically easy.
Yeah.
Like fitness-wise, a real tough challenge. We've known some real fit guys go out there and say, wow. I
was chatting to
that beats you.
One of our friends, Tam, who summited in November, and I was up in the Cairngorms this weekend. Last week for half term, and I caught up with Tam, who lives in Nairn, and we were just chatting about it, and he was telling me how physical it was. And he's done Kili, he's done Everest Base Camp, he's done Toubkal in Morocco with us, and ex-military. So he's a fit guy. He's on it, and he found Mera quite difficult. From a physical point of view. So but even he was like, just slow and steady. Take it slow, look after yourself, but just save some energy for that summit night. You're going to need it, definitely. But you can do it.
Awesome. Any more questions, guys? Do fire them over.
While we've got to fire some questions, talk about Lahara. I know not to finish this one yet, but we're just talking about next week, and you've got a live next week with Rosie, right?
Yeah, so Rosie's jumping into next week, and one of the reasons why is because we're bringing someone onto the live who's really, really doing an amazing job out there with Nepal. So there's a charity that she runs called Lahara, and what they're aiming to do is to train people in the Khumbu who would otherwise perhaps not have any vocation in sports massage. And the idea is to sort of retain, because a lot of people, when they grow up in the Khumbu's their home, but they're forced to leave perhaps to find work, particularly the girls and the women, because, they're not able to, perhaps enter into the world of portering as easily as men. So they're often left without a vocation. What Lahara do is go out there, they bring expertise, and they train the girls in sort of sports massage.
Awesome.
And it's amazing, and so they can then earn a living, and they earn a really good living, and also there's money that's put into the community fund for the Khumbu as well, that then goes out there to sort of help everyone.
How's it spelled? Andrew was asking.
Lehara.
Nice.
Yeah, and one of the things that we did, so last season, all of the trekkers who went to Everest Base Camp, we asked Lahara to get in contact with them and make sure that our team can sort of get booked in. We've had some amazing feedback that the like sports massages and things like that have been carried out on our Ever trekkers. They've contributed to providing some income to the people of the Khumbu, to the community fund that goes to help the Khumbu. So there's a blog all about it. Next week we've got Lisa coming on. We're going to have a great chat with her, and she's going to tell you a lot more about it. So, yeah, really, really good.
Yeah, it was something, as you all know, Nepal, where we started, especially in the Kumbh region, the Everest region, it's somewhere that will always remain very close to all of our hearts. And, having, an enterprise like Lahara to kind of, help the area really, especially kind of the ladies as well who can't get certain positions, or, that it's not usual to guide or porter, some do. But it does give them another opportunity to have a bit of employment out there. And also as well, it helps the trekkers. We had some of our other trekkers who went in the autumn would have used one of the very first customers in Lahara, and had wonderful things to say about it. So yeah, I think obviously you chat about it next week with Dave and Rosie, and Lisa, is it as well?
Yeah,
Lisa. So yeah, definitely any questions around that area, and I think support in local communities, around the world, but obviously in Nepal has always been big for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, any questions you've got around that, just bring them to next week.
Yeah, bring them to next week. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about Lahara now for about an hour because what I'm just really behind what they do. Lahara, by the way, means I think it means like trickle.
Really?
It's like, so almost like it starts with a trickle, And when you think about it, there's a lot of words like that.
Started as a pebble.
Yeah, Lahara, Lahar, river, that type of thing. I think that's where it all comes from.
Got it.
Yeah. Anyway, really good. So yeah, if you highly, encourage you to tune in next week and have some questions and talk to Lisa.
Nice. Richard, how you doing, Rich? I hope all is well. Any plans to add summit in Yala Peak? 5,500 meters to the Langtang Valley. Thinking of this for next year. Mate, we honestly, when we thought about Langtang Valley and started some trips there, obviously we got the Langtang trip. I know some of our other trekkers are booked in. I think one of our first trips is actually next month in March.
Yeah.
We looking at the kind of, not data, but the kind of feedback on Yala Peak. People prefer the trekking, so that hence the reason why we actually just do the trek. There might be an opportunity down the line in terms of adding it on, because essentially it's an extra day, but because of the groups and the itineraries are kind of more or less there in terms of, we do go up to, I think it's called Kyanjen Gumpa, which is the high point of the trek, which is this awesome viewpoint looking down Langtang Valley. If you've watched the Netflix documentary Aftershock, which I know has been around kind of a year or so now, and one of our inspirations really to kind of looking at Langtang and growing it again, because it used to be a really popular trekking area. There are some benefits. It's the closest trekking area to Kathmandu. So there's no massive long journeys to the start as much as, say, flying to a location like Lukla, or there's no long journey to start of Annapurna or Poon Hill, that area. So it's a really, it's growing in terms of the trekking side of it. But yeah, if we do the Yala Peak add-on, we'll let you know, mate. Obviously, it'd be great to have you on the trek as well. And I think you'll really enjoy the trek. And I'm sure if you did, then we can work out something. But at the moment, we don't have a specific itinerary with Yala Peak included because of our kind of bit of research that we did. Maybe in the future, because we always like to remain quite flexible with our approach. And if we have people going out to Langtang, and I really want to go up there, then we'll make it happen. If we got enough people. But Kyanjen Gumpa said it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
I was Andrew years ago, met some British squaddies over there at Kyanjen Gumpa. Sure, they said they were doing Yala Peak fit lads.
Yeah.
Exactly. And great to see you out there, Andrew. I know you went over there a few years back, a number of years back, and how did you find it? Be interested to hear what it was like when you went out there. Because when did you go out there? Was it back in the 90s or noughties maybe? Let us know.
Yeah, amazing.
Great stuff. Right. Well, look, we've got some great questions today. I know we've talked about Gran Paradiso a lot earlier on in the live, but hopefully answers your questions around all the other stuff we covered. Obviously, all the other trips, but Gran Paradiso, it is something that we're really, really excited to to obviously do in July. So just last kind of thing, really. If you are looking to do it, don't forget you can join us, and that's GPS 200, the code to use. Do have a little look at the trip and the itinerary. If you fancy coming with us, that'd be great. Obviously, it'd be great to see you on there, and we can't wait to do the summit as well. If you are on any of the training weekends this year, we're really excited. to obviously to meet you and hopefully help you prepare for your trips.
Amazing.
There's the little link again. Nige, how you doing? Nigel Hawks, me again, off to EBC. 2 weeks Friday. Wow. Do we know yet? Are we flying from Kathmandu or drive into Ramachap? Dave, it's pretty much all Ramachap these days.
Yeah, it's likely going to be Ramachap. Yeah. I mean, wherever possible, we do try and go from Kathmandu. Yeah. But I would say it's almost certain it'll be Ramachap. If it's Kathmandu, consider it a little surprise bonus. But Ramachap at the minute. So at the minute, pretty much what's going to happen eventually is all air traffic to Lukla will go via Ramachap. They're looking to phase it out of Kathmandu Airport entirely because obviously it is the international airport. There's issues with air traffic control with these small planes that been back and forth. So and also congestion and things like that. So yeah, almost certainly Ramachap.
Yeah, exactly. And having been to Ramachap multiple times, it's quite cool actually. The journey on there, you can't get around it. Anything between kind of 4 to 7 hours depending on traffic. But it is an area that we wouldn't normally get to see. Yeah. Quite remote part of Nepal. Quite far away from Kathmandu, so it is very remote. But yeah, it's definitely it's one of those things. Was it back in 2019 when we first had to do it, and it was something that was kind of forced upon us by the Nepalese Aviation Authority, and this is every trekking company. So luckily we were kind of ahead of the game, and we try to find there's some accommodation there in a little village called Mantali, which is about an hour from Ramachap.
Oh, there's a lovely hotel. Akshit Hotel.
One of the best in the area, unfortunately, but it is one that we do use from time to time. Some of our other trekkers do. And it is very basic. Don't get me wrong. Probably a little bit more facilities there than in the mountains. Gets you ready for the mountains, I'd say. But it's just something. Ramachap is definitely becoming part of the furniture in Nepal. And the facilities are getting better. Certainly the airport. When we first went there, it was just an airstrip. It was very basic. It's still a bit chaotic from time to time. But it is also very close. So it helps in terms of if there are any weather delays. If there's a couple of hour gap, they get loads of flights there, and you can imagine then that helps with regards to getting people to Lukla. Whereas in Kathmandu, it's further away. There's not there's smaller windows, and as Dave mentioned, anything to do with any international flights, it delays and delays again, which is why people get stuck in Kathmandu. So it does help us in that way.
Elaine said, do you find the flights back are normally delayed from Lukla? Looking at adding the jungle add-on anyway, but thinking about flights back to UK and dates. So I would say not normally, no. I would say, with Lukla, flights do get delayed there like far more than they would at anywhere other airport. So it is something that, gets spoken about a lot. But actually, if you look at the data, the amount of flights that do go on time is far more than get delayed. My personal recommendation is that when anybody books a trip to EBC, just have an extra day on the end. Worst case scenario is you've just got a free day in Kathmandu to kind of relax and do some sightseeing under your own steam. But if you do need it in case of any delays, then you're not stressed out to meet your flights or anything like that. But I would say it's a relatively good chance that you'll go on time, but nothing's guaranteed. So if you do want to get to Chitwan and you're worried about international flights, the answer is to add more time on at the end of the trip, and that'll keep you covered.
90% of the time it works out just fine. As Dave said there, delays do happen. We've both been delayed in Lukla. Sometimes it's more likely in certain months, just because of weather and things like that. But normally it's fine. And I suppose 100% though, if you're looking to do go down to Chitwan National Park, it's absolutely beautiful. Went down there about 7-8 years ago, and it was absolutely fantastic place. I know we get a lot of ever trekkers who go there and oh my god, this is amazing. So it's completely different to the mountains. It's in the Terai region. So you can imagine when you're in the mountain regions, it's all quite rugged, but the Terai region is very flat towards the border of India, and it gets very jungle. Think of like Jungle Book kind of territory, a lot of forests, jungle, rivers, elephants, crocs, tigers. It's brilliant. Really, really cool place. So I certainly recommend it if you've got the time. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Nice, Dave.
I think
Andrew. So everything but the tiger. Mate, they're elusive. They are very elusive, but they're probably watching you though. But yeah, it's been a good one.
Yeah, no, really good. Yeah, hopefully, you know, we're going to see a few of you on Gran Paradiso with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than
Great
that,
stuff.
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? I know we've again talked about Gran Paradiso, talked about
Yeah,
Mahara, talked about our trip. Any final thoughts, Dave?
I think the final thoughts are that you should come on the trip with myself and Andy.
Definitely.
You know, mainly because I enjoy it so much, getting a big group together, going on a nice little trip and stuff like that. It's one of my favorite parts of the year. So if you want to make me sad, then don't come. But if you would like to, you know, bring this old Yeti a bit of a birthday treat, and yeah,
Old. Well,
41 in May.
That's all right, man.
No, see. Yeah.
Don't go over before your time, boy.
Yeah.
No, great stuff. Well, look, have a wonderful week, whatever you're up to. I say enjoy your live next week with Rosie and Dave. I was gonna say rave then.
Rave or dozy?
Dozy, is it? Okay,
Yeah.
Is that the collective?
Yeah.
So have a great time next week, and I'll be back the week after. But have a great week and weekend as well before then.
Nice one.
But thanks for everything.
Take it easy, guys. Bye.
Bye. See, told you.